Hi, and welcome to the Future of Development podcast. My name's Anthony Amunategui, and I'm here to inspire people to find amazing careers in the construction development world. If you like our podcast, please make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really like our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Hello, and welcome to the Future of Development podcast. I'm your host, Anthony Amunategui, and today I'm joined by the legendary David Scott Peters. He's an author, a restaurant coach, a speaker who teaches restaurant operators how to use his trademark restaurant prosperity formula to transform their businesses and their lives. His first book, Restaurant Prosperity Formula, What Successful Restaurateurs Do, teaches the systems and traits to develop and run profitable restaurants. Known as the expert in the restaurant industry, his no BS style teaches and motivates restaurant owners to take control of their businesses and realize their full potential. Thousands of restaurants have used the formula to cut costs and increase profitability and create lives they've always wanted. With that, let's give a big warm welcome to David. Welcome to the show. David, as always, I'm so grateful to have you on the show. Welcome again. Every time that you and I talk, I get so excited about this. It's, our conversations go all over the place. So first, before we get started, I want the audience to really get to know you. And again, before we get started, I want to say thank you. Thanks for being on the show. Thanks for all you do with helping me out with the podcast. I'm grateful.
It's my pleasure to be here. Very much so.
That's great. So, you came up in the restaurant world and kind of give us a little bit of the history. How did you get in there? Where did it come from? Give me some of your background.
Well, I'm a lifer. I grew up my family's restaurant and catering business back in Linwood, New Jersey, working for the toughest manager I know. If anybody's ever worked for your mom, you know it sucks. I mean, I literally hated every minute of it. Why? Because my mother rode my sister and I twice as hard as everybody else. There'll be no favoritism. Now, while I hated it as a kid, she did me a favor because I had a work ethic like nobody else around me. I elevated my career so quickly, no matter where I worked. So she really did me a favor. Over the years, I worked in various jobs during college and what have you. But when I got out of school, I ended up through different jobs, but I ended up back in the hospitality industry, working for a company called Coyote Springs Brewing Company and Cafe back in the early 90s when brew pubs were opening one a week. It was magical. Our first location was a cash cow. Our second location was like owning a boat, a hole in water in which you throw money, and it sucked one dry. And that's where I cut my teeth, if you will, on systems. I became the operations manager and the importance of budgeting. Really, the biggest thing was how cash pays your bills and profits don't. The importance of systems, allowing you to impose your will without being there. And over the years, I left there and went I went to a franchisor called Famous Sam's, a 30-unit restaurant sports bar chain. Went as the director of operations and was opening 8 stores, brought an operations team, redid the training. It was phenomenal. Left there, went and taught at Scottsdale Culinary Institute, management, human resources, wines and spirits. I'm not a chefy type. Then I went back to Famous Sam's to turn the family company around to what was near bankruptcy to a sale in 5 years. And then I started coaching independent restaurants since 2003. And I'm in 2 different iterations from 2003 to 2019. My original company literally built not only coaching and seminars and workshops, but software to handle all aspects of your back office, if you will. And in 2019, my business partner bought me out. And since then, I've been focusing on really just helping independent restaurants find what I call restaurant prosperity, freedom from your restaurant and the financial freedom you deserve.
I love what you said. Systems that impose your will when you're not there, right? I mean, the being tied to a restaurant, not having to be there every single day, is the number one way to stop growth of any group, restaurant group, right? And finding those systems to impose your will or to impose your process. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Sure. Well, you think about this: chain restaurants kick our ass, and it's not because they're better. There are some chain restaurants, I'll leave the names out, that it's a national chain that is a neighborhood location. Let's just say that. They suck. They're horrendous. Heck, all they have is microwaves in the back. And I think it was 3 summers ago, they were trying to get rid of that stigma and said, we've now installed wood-fired grills. I'm like, what the, So the bottom line is they have lines of people no matter where you are in the country. How do they have lines of people if I say they suck? Because they suck the same way every single day. See, what there is, there's a system, a process, a way to doing anything their way. and they are able to impose their will. They're able to hold people accountable. And as long as their team executes their way, they know they've got a proven system. And what happens is it's not that they're better than an independent. It's that an independent, sometimes my portion's large, sometimes it's small, sometimes it's salty, sometimes it's not. And it's that inconsistency that crushes our industry. And so what the chains have learned is do it the same way every single time, whether it's bad, good, and different. The fact is people will come back over and over again. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Look, finding that consistency, something they can count on, even if it's at the bottom of the market, even if it's the bottom of the one. Look, I know I'm going to get the heartburn when I go there, but at least the heartburn I can tolerate. And I know exactly how long it's going to take me. Look, I'm going to walk in, I'm going to walk out. It's going to take me 5 minutes. Where I walk into a chain, sometimes it's 5 minutes, sometimes it's 50 minutes. And, my day doesn't allow for that kind of inconsistency, right? I can go for 5 minutes, even if it's crappy, but I can get in and get out and I can count on that. Where we walk in somewhere where I put an order in and it's like how taxis were. Back in the day, with the reason why we don't go to taxis, because I couldn't count on when they were going to show up. Today on Uber, I know I can see it. All right, great. I can make sure that I can go get one more cup of coffee where I'm waiting for the Uber driver to show up, or I know they're going to be there in 2 minutes because I can watch them go and it's consistent. It's reliable. I can see it as opposed to, where I used to call a cab and it'd show up, today in 20 minutes, next week, it'll be in an hour. And I never know what to plan for going to the airport. So it just became to a point where I need that consistency, finding that consistency in a brand, delivering that every day. And then also the employees know how to manage that, right? They can walk in and follow processes, the way they manage the health, ordering and the way they cook it and the way they operate the cooking process. All those consistencies really lend for a much more,
a part of imposing your will is training your system. It's your system, your process, your way. So in essence, what you're doing is you're taking all that crazy maker stuff out of your head. You're documenting, you're videoing, you're training, you're doing whatever it is so they can do it your way, especially when you're not there, because they're literally, there's only one way to do things. So for instance, I tell people it starts with Restaurant 101, hot food hot, cold food cold, clean, safe work environment, guest employees, wow customer service, incredible product. We put us earth to create great hospitality. So I've got to make an assumption you've got your shit together, like you run a good restaurant. From there, it's literally checklists and cash controls, creating literally a culture where the details matter. If I can't get someone to follow a checklist, what makes you think they're going to follow dollars per labor hour work, take inventory accurately on a Sunday or whatever it may be? If I can't make sure every penny makes it into the bank, how am I going to make sure I've got money to pay my bills? And then after that second tier, if you will, we now get into all the systems, from counting a bar drawer back to $300 the same way, only one way, not 7 different ways, one way, to dollars per labor hour work, which is high level labor efficiencies. There is a system, a process, a way, which means I can train anybody my way. I can hold people accountable to my way. I can ensure it's getting done my way, even when and especially when I'm not there. And that's the power. It's not easy. It takes time, and it's a lot about company culture, but it's critical to your success. If you don't want to be a prisoner, you don't want to be the God's gift to your restaurant. You're the only one who can schedule. You're the only one who can place an order. You're the only one who can run a shift. Then why'd you get in the restaurant business?
No, we do it all day long. It's kind of like the entrepreneur leash, right? We build these systems that pay homage to us. We're the ones that can do it. We're the only ones who can do it. If I don't get up and turn the world, it's not going to turn. And then they wonder, well, why do I have to do this every day? Well, you set it up that way. You set up the system where you're the only one who can figure out your system. You have a communicated system. Well, look, as an entrepreneur, I have done that numerous times throughout my career. I've watched as I've put this S on my chest and I walk out. Oh, look, they're all having problems. Let me pull my S out because I got to be important, right? It's getting importance from me doing it as opposed to really learning how to step back and me creating it and allowing them to do it, right? Really helping other people to be supermen, right?
And a part of that value as entrepreneurs, we often think the harder I work, the more hours I work, the more valuable I am. And it's the complete, absolute asinine opposite. The more you can lead, train, guide your company forward, work on budgets, work on marketing, developing your management team, holding them accountable, the more you get done. And kind of one of the things that people talk about is like, well, nobody can do it as well as I. No shit. You're the only person in your company who's going to care as much, work as hard, do whatever. But if they can do it 85% as well as you, holy shit, that's a home run.
Yeah, I know you've made it right there. 85% of how you do it is probably more than 95% of the people on the planet. I know one of the big things with you is stop the blame game, right? Talk about that.
So what happens is, and I literally just spoke at the Louisiana Restaurant Association show just a couple of days ago, and we talked about this labor crisis, right? We started with the COVID-19 and the business restrictions, and it's been really hard. Owners are now working on their business, not on their business, but in their business again. And we cut our labor, we cut our management, and then COVID restrictions lifted. And all of a sudden we had record sales. Most everybody, not COVID pandemic records, like before the pandemic, record sales, but we don't have any employees and we can't get people to apply. We can't get people to show up. We burned people out. We got them out of our industry and they don't want to come back. And all that a restaurant owner wants to do, many, shouldn't say all, many want to go, oh, it's the government's fault, $300 extra. These people want to sit on their ass and do nothing. Oh, it's the employee's fault. It's my manager's fault. It's COVID's fault. They just keep blaming others. When the truth of the matter is, it's you. You created a company culture which drove people away and they don't want to be there. And so where there's smoke, there's fire. When you can take ownership, then you can make the change, because here's the deal. Blaming allows you to push off responsibility to someone else. You don't own it. But when you can have the pride to own it, you can then fix it. And that's the beautiful part about this is you are 100% the solution to your problem.
It's the toughest thing for me as an entrepreneur. Our companies have grown, CDO Group and the company has grown so dramatically. It's got this leadership body and they've put me in charge of company culture. And as I started to really look at it and go, all right, how am I at fault when we lose employees or someone's not happy with the culture or the systems? How am I at fault for that, right? How can I hold myself accountable for what's happening? And the best learning I've ever had, a bad review about the company culture, a bad review about something, getting humble and sitting in, I didn't pay attention. I paid lip service to it, but I never actually embraced what it meant to value employees. What it really meant to really honor the people that come to work for you every single day and give their blood, sweat, and tear and their time and everything they have to make your company successful. Being in this position has been the most humbling I've ever been, to stand back and go, wow, all right, what does it really take to get to know your employees, to cherish them, to honor them, to be grateful for the work that they're doing? And I got to tell you, it's humbling, it's exciting, it's freeing. To finally not have all the answers, to be able to sit back and go, all right, how am I not doing this right?
But what people have to worry about though is we often knee-jerk reaction the complete opposite way. And now I want people to like me and I don't want to push them too hard. I don't want to add something more to their list. What if they leave me and so on? Truth of the matter is, if I train you what your job is, how to do it, how well it should be done, more importantly, by when you demonstrate it back, I hold everybody to the same standards. I can ask more of people. They feel that it's fair. It's a part of the culture. So what people can't do is think, oh, well, I've got to completely go backwards and now I got to treat everybody with kid gloves. No. In fact, think about it this way. If you've had a stern parent or you had a coach, for me, it was athletics. Like my coach wasn't easy on me. Was it because he hated me? No, he wanted more out of me. And I had respect for that. Even if he delivered a message harshly to me, it was because it was for my best interest. And that's what we've got to realize is company culture isn't just about being nice. It's kind of following, not to get too academic, but Herzberg's motivation hygiene theory from the 1960s. Frederick Herzberg was a psychologist and probably the revolutionary guy for business management. And he talked about there are maintenance factors and there's motivation factors. And if the maintenance factors are missing, things like fair pay and proper supervision, things like that, if those aren't in place, then they're demotivators. But then we have these motivators that he also says that if there's more of something, it doesn't make anybody more motivated. And it's things like achievement, opportunity for advancement, safety. It's these things that we as operators have to really, or any business, really look at our employees and say, it's okay to set standards. It's okay to set high expectations, but man, you just got to take care of them. And it doesn't mean becoming wishy-washy and soft. Does that make sense?
No, look, never have I felt accomplished when anybody's been wishy-washy or soft around me. In fact, the best I've ever been is when I've been leaned into a little bit. Now, as I've watched the environment change, I'm a lot like a coach. I'm very rah, 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 go get him, go get him, go get him. Come on, team, you could do this. Bullshit.
That's why we get along.
Right? You got this. Now, so I've had to really look at, all right, what are the things I can do to be stern with a system? This is a system that we have to have, because without the system, this isn't workable, right? The system will not work. And the more that we follow a system in a process, the more workability we have in our system, the more we understand that. Great. Everybody does that. We have budgets and forecasts, and we have systems, and here's how we start a project. Here's how we end a project. Here's how we start a day. Here's how we end a day. These are things we need to be workable. Now, here's what I need to do to understand you as a because I've gone that other way. I've gone just that part you talked about, where I've got vegetarians that work for the company. Now I got to go dramatically the other way and go, hey, we're going to do vegetarian lunches. And then the people that eat me are like, hey, I don't eat that stuff. How do I do it so that's in the middle? It's fair for everybody that works. A system that's sustainable over a long period of time, and you don't get too dramatic either way, right? You're not. Your high highs don't get too high, your low lows don't get too low, but the system becomes very reproducible continuously every single week. So as I've gone through it, I love watching myself, and then the little bird that's in me that goes, I have this right. No, maybe I don't. Right. The part of me that goes, challenge myself. And I feel like that's the part as entrepreneurs that most of us have, that we're coachable ourselves, that maybe the way that it isn't exactly right, and there might be another system to this. I think that's what ultimately made us, entrepreneurs, is that we were looking for a better way of doing things.
Or successful entrepreneurs, because think of the restaurant industry. There's so many restaurants that I could help, but they're too damn smart. They know everything. They're never going to go outside their four walls. So what I found in my book, Restaurant Prosperity Formula, I followed my most successful restaurant operators, and what they've learned, one of the pieces of that is they don't know what they don't know. So they're willing to always consume information, whether it's get a coach, or go to seminars and workshops, trade shows, read magazine articles, YouTube videos. They're always in search of the new something, because they just don't know what they don't know. And what's amazing is once they find it out, what really makes them successful is, doesn't matter if I know, if I don't train my managers and share that knowledge, who cares? And that's probably, I would say that, yes, as an entrepreneur, but it's a successful entrepreneur versus somebody who's stuck and a prisoner in their business. That's not you. Make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Your book, Restaurant Prosperity, is really a great book. It's a formula, right? When you talk about it's successful restaurateurs and entrepreneurs, there is a formula for what they do. And in your book, it identifies it really, really well. I think it's one of the great parts to break out here.
Thank you. So if we look at the restaurant prosperity formula, for me, restaurant prosperity, I said kind of earlier in kind of who I am, is restaurant prosperity is freedom from your business and the financial freedom you deserve. And I've been coaching restaurant owners since 2003, but what's really been a change for me in the last couple of years after writing that book and looking at my most successful people is I used to focus on systems, numbers, management, then you. And when I turned it around and said, I'm focused on getting you freedom from your business. If I can do that, then you're making money, because it means you have managers in place, you have systems being followed, you have budgets, you have all the things to get there. But my most successful people, the formula starts with leadership. You've got to be a good leader. And the unfortunate reality is we're not all born leaders. And so, this is the important part about the next piece of the formula is we've got systems plus training. Well, the systems part is that there's a system, a process, a way to doing anything and everything in your business. And when you do that, if you're that social worker, you're what I call the giver. If all you care about is guest experience and so on, you don't pay attention to your numbers, you have systems give you budgets and all these other systems you must follow, targets to reach. If you're that pencil pusher, the numbers person, and you're impatient with people, you don't care about that, it forces you to train people and say what your guest experience is like. And so systems make up for our weaknesses, making us the leader our restaurant needs. Then there's that training, we go with that systems, the training, it's learning what you don't know and sharing it. But underneath that is accountability. You've got to be willing to hold people accountable to your systems. Doesn't matter what kind of systems you have. Doesn't matter how good your training is. If you let people do whatever the hell they want, who cares? Why do you have them? And what I do is I change that word accountability from a negative, Anthony, I'm going to hold you accountable. It's like a fist to you. Like, you screw up and I'm going to bound you, versus changing it to answerable. You know what your job is, how to do it, how well it should be done. More importantly, they win. then you know your obligation is your job. You make a decision to do your job, and then you're answerable for the resulting consequences. So there's no conflict to that, because your employee, your manager, your line employees, they know exactly what was expected. They've proven to you they know how to do it, and they have the confidence to do so. So if they choose not to do their job, they understand there are consequences. And last but not least, doesn't matter you do all this stuff, you ultimately have to take action. My father had a phrase, said, ideas are cheap. It's the people who put them into action that are priceless. Like, I'll give you all the ideas in the world, whether it's my book, you see me speak, go to my YouTube channel, don't care. I'll give you all the ideas and get you all excited. But if you go home and do nothing, who gives a damn? And ultimately, if you follow that formula, you're damn near guaranteed to be successful. The truth of the matter, though, is it is the restaurant business. So the thing that each one of these people have, these entrepreneurs that are successful for in the restaurant business, they have passion for the industry. You got to love hospitality, because there'll always be struggles. And man, they are persistent. Heck, look at it. Look at just what we went through with COVID, and are still going through. There are always obstacles, but you got to have this growth mindset, not fixed. Fixed mindset says, oh my gosh, COVID hit, I'm shutting down. Versus, damn, COVID hit, pivot, do whatever I can to make it work. And that's what really separates a successful entrepreneur, but especially in the restaurant business.
I saw it throughout all business, in the construction world as well. I saw, folks that just crawled up on a ball like, oh, it's COVID. Oh my God, everybody locked down. And there's guys companies who didn't, who innovated, who really created, we invented stuff through COVID that changed the way we do business today. We went from we were doing trade stacking on a job site. How many people can you fit at the same time and kind of, move it around, to shift stacking? Where can we put people throughout the day? Right. So we could have people that started, there were guys that wanted to start at 3 o'clock in the morning. And, there was older guys love getting up early, love that. And there were younger people that we found that wanted to stay up late and go to work a little bit later. So we had a crew that was at 3 o'clock in the morning. We had a crew that started at 6 a.m. in the morning, a crew that started at 10 a.m., another one that started at 1. And we ended up having shifts that worked all day long. And with communication today, it revolutionized the way that we do a business, even outside of COVID, just really giving people a lot more bandwidth as to what works for them in their life and for their group. And, there has been the same thing with the restaurant world. I watch folks who really embraced delivery, right? And they've added, tremendous revenue to the bottom line. And in using third-party delivery folks, they've incorporated some of their own stuff. There's a restaurant right here down the street, Little Greek, Greasy Spoon, which is a great diner. My family loves going there. And he's doing well over $1,000 on a weekday, $1,500 to $2,000 on a weekend, out the front door, not taking up one seat in the restaurant every single day with third-party delivery folks. And that all came out of learning how to do it in COVID. Because he just embraced it. Instead of sitting there crawling up, he just got, all right, let's figure out how to do this. They figured out how to package it. There was an opening in the marketplace where people just didn't feel like going out for breakfast. They love having it delivered. And it's convenient. Sometimes we do it here. Having breakfast delivered, it's, my mother probably would flip over in her grave or flip over at her house if she watched me do that. But, it's kind of nice to have pancakes delivered at your house on a Sunday morning, and you don't have to leave your pajamas. You and the family can sit home and watch a movie or something,
Yeah, our industry is forever changed, whether third-party delivery, whether it's to go, whether it's new technology we've implemented, getting leaner and so on. The danger, though, is that a lot of operators, I'm seeing it right now with all the PPP money, EIDL money, the freaking restaurant relief fund, and like all this money's coming their way. We go backwards. Pandemic hit, 25% of our industry was gone in 2 weeks because they only had 2 weeks of cash flow. As long as they had money coming in, they could pay bills from 2 weeks ago. Then it shut off. They were gone. Then by the second or third wave of the pandemic, which was December of 2020, we were up to about 40% of our operators. And then the government came in with all this freaking money. So these people who survived are now getting all this money. And I hear operators going back to their old habits of too much labor. Oh, well, I've got the money. I can burn it until we change or whatever. It's like, no, you keep those efficiencies. You keep that money. You made the change. Now you've got to stick with it and remain being efficient, trying to find new ways. Because here's the deal. Like we'll always have new challenges. Like we'll replace COVID and these challenges with new challenges. That's the one thing I'll guarantee you in our industry. And so right now, we've now not only have a labor shortage, so your labor costs are really low because you got people being burnt out with overtime and all this stuff, but our food costs are outrageous. more so than ever before. We've got chicken wings are up 100%, briskets up 300%, avocados like 200%. Like there's shortages on every truck. Our costs are going through the roof. So now we've got to get really creative on simplifying menus, reducing our cost, finding yet new ways to stay efficient and still deliver the best guest experience possible. So it's not like once you learn how to do that one thing, we're done. You're never done. There's no finish line in the restaurant business. There's always a new challenge, a new something. And if you can keep that growth mindset that you will find a way and you're always looking to improve, man, the sky's the limit, because there will always be imposters that come in and out of the industry. Open and close, open and close. But when you can be a staple and deliver consistency to your guest, damn, I mean, you're going to be around forever.
I think that's one of the hard parts is staying in that growth mindset, right? I'm a lot like a thermostat, at 70, at 68 degrees, it's too cold. The heat comes on, right? If I get to this level of profitability, I kick on. All of a sudden I start getting really busy and really profitable. All of a sudden I start getting a little light and I warm up. I need to, cool it down a little bit. And sometimes just allowing myself to go through the ups and downs of, all right, I'm going to be uncomfortable down here. Let's boogie. But when we get through that, it's busy. Just learning to organize, expand, right? To notice that, hey, all right, things are getting I'm growing, right? Oh my God, I got $1,000. This guy with the $1,000 a day going out the door. Now the business is kicked back up. You can see that some of the staff was like, "Oh, how are we going to be able to handle doing both?" And he said, "No, I got this." And what he did is he created a whole to-go area and dedicated a staff that's not focused. He's got a manager, one of his key managers that runs the to-go window. That literally that he's taken a great asset and put it over there and separated it from the rest of the group. So it's growing, and he's maintaining that growth on that to-go stuff, where he could have started saying, well, COVID's over, slowing down a little bit. Maybe I don't need this as much. And all that foothold that he gained could have gone backwards, right? So learning to go, all right, expanded, now organize. Expand, now organize. A lot of us get to that point where it gets hectic and you can't handle the organized part.
So one of the things that I would tell people is, and a couple of my members, I was speaking in Miami and they were at the show at Cater Source, and we had dinner together, and we spent some time really talking about their business and both our business. We had just a wonderful time. Just like you, I really enjoy restaurant operators, getting to know them. But we talked about the real growth for them. They're a husband-wife couple, was making time, planning weekly time for strategic planning, that they could be strategic in their business, not just operate it every single day and survive. Like, what are we doing? Well, we're going to expand catering. We're going to be adding management. We want to add, somebody in our bar to help our cocktails kick up. But they're always thinking about the growth part of their business, the future, and what they can do to change and grow. And so often too many entrepreneurs get stuck in the day-to-day that they forget they need strategic planning. You actually have to take time and force yourself to think about the future.
Thinking about the future. And then as you start to develop it, understand that you're not going to be able to do all of this yourself, right? And as as we brought on a leadership body at CDO Group and watched it expand, right? I noticed this propensity in me to want to go jump in their business, right? I hired these amazing people, right? They came on board and they're phenomenal. They're great. But even though I brought them in, great people, I wanted to, as I knew what I was doing, right? I knew I had to, now I had to give them this and let them run with it. And I'd sit in my office and there's a door there, and I would close the door, and I can't tell you how many times a day I just bit my tongue and said, "Stop! You want to go? I want to go jump out and go jump in their business or go talk to their people, or go jump in there." And I had to sit back there and go, "Look, stop! Where's that coming from?" Well, part of that is that you know the job really, really well, and I get it. But if you don't allow them to go step on their own, you're always going to have to spin every plate. And as I step back and go, all right, great. I have one-on-one time with each and every one of those leadership people once a week. How do I save that up? Now, if it's really important or something I could do is I could take them off on the side and have a one-on-one with them. But every single time I jumped into their department and thought I could coach their people or did the stuff that really what made us successful in the beginning, right? When I was a little company, that was great. It was wonderful stuff that I did. And then it's to walk back and go, all right, now what's happened since they've done that? They've taken it to places I never even imagined, right? I mean,
I have a couple rules for you on that. And that's this. One, we only know what we know, right? And there's another way to get from point A to point B. Like it's not always a straight line. To you and I, based on our experience, number of years and being founders of our companies, like there's a straight line. By God, that's the only way, but it's not. There are multiple ways. And oh, by the way, we learned by making mistakes, which cost us money. We're like, oh, don't do that again. Don't do that again. And so I kind of give my members, the restaurant owners I work with, kind of a rule to follow. And that's this: understand there's more than one path. There's not always a straight path from point A to point B. You need to let people take that path and learn on their journey. Who cares as long as they get there? In fact, they may find a better route that you because you never thought of it, because you're stuck in running the whole company and they're just in their lane on their department and they're going to become experts at what they do. But you look at it this way: as long as it's not going to hurt your guest, in your case, your customer, as long as it's not going to hurt the employee, as long as it's not going to hurt the company, you got to let them do it. But the moment they start taking their car and they're ready to crash into a barrier, you grab them by their bootstraps and pull them back. Oh, no, we do it this way. Otherwise, you got to give people the freedom to try other things, because by God, there is another way and it might be better than your way. But you'll never know if you just keep saying, give it to me, and micromanage by actually taking it from them and doing it for them. Even if you don't take it from them and say, no, you got to do it this way. Does that make sense?
Oh, for sure. And I made mistakes. I made lots of them. And, they'll make mistakes. I look at my kids the same way. I've got these great, these kids, and I watch them, and, I got a 19-year-old son, and I want him to do it this way. And he wanted to do it a different way. And my 16-year-old daughter, I want to squeeze her and hold her and protect her from everything. And I found the more I squoze her, the more I was trying to stop her from doing what she was doing, the further away from her she got. Right. Yep. All of a sudden I gave her a little bit of an opening. Look, I have a job. My job is don't die. Right. My job at the company is to, maintain and grow this company. Right. Continue to allow it to go. And I hired great people, allow them to do the path that they're going to do. Just like you said, watch them go through what they're doing. If there's somewhere they're going to get in trouble or something that really, look, we can communicate that, because I've got great relationships with them and I spend time getting to know them, right? And hearing what's going on with their life. I can anticipate that I've got a young guy who's getting ready to get married, right? We had a one-on-one today. I said, you understand, give yourself some room. You're going through marriage. Your wife needs some attention as you go through this next process. Now, we as teammates, we're going to give you a lot of room to do that. So let's just be aware of that, stand in a communication that, look, it's going to take some time. We got one of our leadership guys just had a baby, right? A year ago. It's 1 year birthday this week. And I said, just watch, for example, how he went through it, right? The baby was magnificent. He went through all the stuff of having a baby, but it takes some attention. And you're just noticing now how that department's really starting to roll again, because he's able to go back and really work on the department. But we gave him room, and his team gave him room to have the baby and do what they need to do. And that's a difference where I think we really start to support each other's understanding what we go through and being there for them as they go through their life stuff, and support the stuff that happen. We still have matrix, we still have things to measure and maintain. But getting to know your people and having grace for their life, right? The stuff they go through in their life. And how does that work for, the restaurant world hasn't been that way. The restaurant world has worked our people to death, right? It's beat them up, paid them nothing. And it just said, well, that's the way the restaurant world is. And today those restaurants aren't able to find people to work for them, right?
Yeah, we're going through a major wake up, a change in our industry, a come to Jesus, if you will, not to offend anybody. The fact of the matter is, because of these bad practices, we've created an environment that people don't want to be in the industry. So for instance, as we cut back our team when COVID hit, the restrictions, we let cooks go. I can't tell you across the country how many cooks I know that are now in construction will never come back to the restaurant business. They're making more money, overtime, anything they want. They've got, a life, and they're not coming back. We've got, for the first time, we've got people who went out and they're like, okay, we're letting you go because we only keep like 3 servers and so on. All our bartenders are gone because we don't have nobody to sit at a bar. And they found 9 to 5 jobs. They're like, I have real weekends? You mean Wednesday's not my Friday? And, I punch in, I punch out, I leave the job behind, and they're like, I don't want to come back. And then we look at the money, and, they're getting paid more. Heck, I could start at Amazon for $17 an hour in one of their warehouses, get full benefits, a signing bonus, education, all these things, and, just leave my problems behind. And all of a sudden that's attracting who would normally work for us. And Now we're burning our managers out. We're burning ourselves out. We're burning our line employees out with overtime. And, and everybody's a Karen now. Like, it's not to piss anybody off with the name Karen, but when COVID lifted a little bit, people were like, take your time. I'm so glad you're open. Now they're like, what the hell? This is taking too long. Where's your people? I want to sit at that table. And like, my daughter, who was home for college for the last few months, was working back at the coffee shop she worked at, and they're a drive-through. She's had to call the cops twice this summer on a customer. Actually call the police. It was that dangerous at that point in time because people are nuts now. And who wants to work in this industry? So we've got to become employers of choice. We may have to make sure, we're going to make sure it's a positive work environment. We're going to make sure it's fair pay. If you've got one restaurant who's jacking up their pay rates, we'll just know there's only 10 line jobs at that rate. But if I see multiple restaurants going, then we got to go with them. We've got to make sure there's proper supervision on every shift. We've got to make sure people are trained. We got to make sure people see a chance for advancement, even if they don't want it. We got to make work itself something that is rewarding, even if you're a dishwasher, to understand how it affects the guest, how they make sure that Yelp review that was phenomenal wouldn't have happened if it weren't for them. That's right. And that's without being, complaining about the millennials and younger, like, I can't talk to them rudely. Well, guess what? You can't anymore, period. We've got to create a positive work environment.
One of my best jobs I ever had, I was a cleanup kid in a butcher shop, right? I was like, 14 or 15 years old, 15 years old. I worked after school for a couple hours a day. And Frank, it's a tough job. I mean, you're a kid, sweeping, cleaning up all this greasy stuff from, the butcher shop. But I got to tell you, I learned more doing a hard job for a little bit of money because the people that were there trained me to be a man, right? So in the job, in being there every single day, there was a work ethic and a culture and a community that I felt part of. And I couldn't wait till they let me cut chicken, right? When you're a kid, you're like, I want to learn how to do that. Right. And all of a sudden they stacked me next to a stack of chicken that was, taller than I was. And the old butchers were funny. They'd take the top chicken, they put the juice on top, and you go to get that box and it would spill chicken juice all over you. And I'm like, all right, little smart Alex, they play a little joke on the kid, but I wanted to be part of that group. Right. And they really pushed me. And it can be, it doesn't have to be the highest paying job to be committed to something, to be part of something, to enjoy being part of that group and culture. It's, I think that's what you're talking about. It's really creating an environment where people enjoy their crew, enjoy their group, feel like they're giving back and they're part of a community that's really important. So David, you create that, right? You really have, your books really speak to that. Your the business that you run. If people want to get to know you and really have you come in and do some coaching for them, where do they find you?
So easy enough. Go to davidscottpeters.com. That's where you go to my website. You can jump on a discovery call with me. We can learn more about you and your business, tell you what I do, and maybe we're a fit. I'm not a right fit for everybody. I just like to think I am. If you want to dip your toe in the water, go check me out on YouTube, David Scott Peters. I put out a free tip every single week, video tip, and there's a whole library. Or check out my podcast, Restaurant Prosperity Formula, found on all the popular podcasting services. So there's multiple ways to, kind of dip your toe in the water and get to know me.
I love getting to know you, and it's been fun. We continue to do this. And, when I got a chance to get with you, I've been thinking about it since the moment we got to meet. So, David, I love what you do and all the stuff you've been able to help and grow me with the podcast and services. I am truly honored and grateful to have you as a guest and look forward to doing some more.
I really appreciate the opportunity, and we'll do more for sure. Even you on my podcast.
There you go. Look forward to it, brother. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. My name is Anthony Amunategui, always looking for people to bring insight into the industry, finding ways to inspire people to have amazing careers in the development world. If you liked our podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below. If you really liked our podcast, make sure you hit the little bell. Thanks again for listening. Please share it with your friends.